kept listening to everybody. And then I put offers on homes, but I'd bring them along to the home inspections or what have you. And they're like, no, don't do it. It's a bad deal. It's a this, it's a that. The tenants will never pay you, you know. And so I was always listening to them. But as time went on, I realized, hey, they don't own rental properties themselves. They've always either owned one home themselves or they own 0 homes. And I'm listening to them. And I kept seeing the prices go up and up, you know, homes that used to be 120 were now 230, were now 280, etc. So I was getting frustrated, and instead I was buying vehicles. So I'm like, I'm losing money in vehicles. So I'm like, even if the tenants don't pay me, I'm not getting any more ahead with vehicles. So I just started to say, I don't care about everybody else. And I didn't tell anybody I was buying them. And then I just started to buy them.
All right. So you bought a new home for you to move into and immediately
Yeah,
started looking for investment properties.
right. And so I used to always be about multiplexes. So 2 kitchens, 3 kitchens, 4 kitchens, etc. Because that way, if one person didn't pay, because I did listen to them a little bit, because they said if you have one home and that person doesn't pay rent, then you are on the hook for the mortgage, right? But I'm like, if there's 2 or 3 or 4 families, even if one person doesn't pay or one person's behind, I still have other people to help pay the mortgage. So that's why I liked those. So that's what I would do.
So what was the first one you bought?
The first one I bought was a duplex, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment downstairs and a 3-bedroom apartment upstairs. And yeah, I would buy single family homes only if I could make them into multifamily homes. So if I could divide the basement, if it had a walkout basement, if the stairs, if I could like add an extra door to make a basement apartment, or there was a second level, I could put a third, you know what I mean? Those, I would never buy one with only one kitchen if it could only stay as one kitchen, because that didn't, you know, appeal to me.
So from the start, you weren't afraid to get in and really do some serious construction, right? We're not talking about painting and dolling it up.
No. Well, they weren't like huge. Like now I'll build like a 4,500 square foot home from scratch. I don't physically, you know, use the hammer, but I mean, I plan everything and I buy all the kitchens and I design it all, etc. So they were smaller in that sense, but I was still always doing things because I don't like things that are ugly. So I love to renovate the kitchens. I love to renovate the bathrooms. I love to add extra big, huge natural light windows instead of, you know, dinky little windows. So it just depends which way you look at it. It's not at all compared to like big homes that I do now, but I was still doing some stuff to them. Yeah.
Well, you said in the beginning it was trial and error. So now you're starting to
Yeah.
move into buying properties, renovating them. Did you start getting an education, or you just trusted your instincts and trial and
It's
error?
all just been like hundreds of rentals, then thousands of rentals and tenants, and learning all the issues of tenants, like not to become friends with my tenants because that screwed me over many times, right? And even something as silly as having curtains, because to be honest, I'm not really one about permits. So I've done things before without permits, and then I don't have curtains and somebody calls bylaw on me and they come and they look in the window and they see what I've done. If I had just had curtains, I could have saved myself a lot of money. But so just like silly things like that. And then as time went on, I started to get out of the multiplexes. So they served their purpose for me. But as time went on, I realized the tenants had way more of a right than I did. And I could take them to court, and you could, like, one person, for example, last time I was at court, the person said, oh, I have proof. It was the tenant. They said, oh, I have proof that there's mold in the house. There's this, that, the other. It wasn't my property. It was somebody else's. And the judge said, okay, let me see it. And he goes, oh, it flew out the window while I was driving here. And thinking that the judge would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But they said, okay, we'll reschedule for 4 months and bring the paper next time, and guarantee that tenant's not going to pay during those 4 months, right? So I just got frustrated with tenants and so forth. So I switched over to short-term rentals. So that's just what happened. Like, I didn't start with short-term rentals. I started with multiplexes, and yeah.
When you started buying all these properties and fixing them, finding the finances, I mean,
you just have to be more creative. So I don't know, because you're in the States, right? So I'm in Canada. So we have A lenders, B lenders, and private. So A lenders are like something that you could drive by. You could see, and I'm going to name again Canadian banks because I don't know American banks, but like TD Bank, Royal Bank, Scotia, anything you can drive by and you can see, that is an A lender that you can physically go into a branch. Then a B lender is something like Equitable or Home Trust or something, and you can't go in a branch. There's no branch that you can go in. And then private obviously is, let's just say you or myself lending somebody money, etc. So A is cheapest to get, B second, and C is most expensive or private. So you just have to be more creative. So I usually had B lenders. I'd have the odd A, like I'd say 1 in 20 homes I'd buy, I'd get an A lender, and the rest I would be a B or a private. And some people would be like, oh, well, if you can only get a B, don't get it. I'm like, yeah, but if my mortgage is still $1,500 a month and I can bring in $3,900 a month, why do I care? Like, okay, instead of $1,500 a month, an A lender would be $1,200, but I'm still making money on it. And then the house is still going up in value. Plus the people are still paying down my interest, right? Like my principal, sorry, they pay the interest on principal, but they're paying the principal down. So even though I wasn't making as much as if I had an A lender, I was still making enough to want to invest in it.